I have a plate here that I'm going to do some slip trailing on. And I do very traditional slip trailing, but I use a very different method. So I'm going to use a cake bag. So I have a cloth cake bag. And in this cake bag, I'm going to put what was a round-tipped cake nib, I believe is what you call these. And I have used pliers to squash it down. And it allows me to make a really nice, long, wide slip trail line. To fill up this cake bag, I have slip that's mixed to the consistency of pudding. It's best to have a slip that is your actual clay body because then you know it's going to fit. There will be no shrinkage problem. So I need to have it about 3/4 of the way full. I've filled up the slip trailing bag and I've rolled down the top of it. And that's important because I want to be able to not only hold it securely, but I want to be able to put pressure on the bag. That's what makes it either come out very quickly or very slowly. And that's important when I'm using this as a drawing tool. I'm going to use just a very simple line of water to distinguish the 5 lobes of this plate. And then I'm going to do some quick water sketches to show you how you can define each of these lobes. On this panel right here, I'm going to do almost like a lattice structure so you can see what that would look like. The nice thing about sketching with water is that it just absorbs in, so there's no commitment to this decoration. It's a really quick, easy way to show the way something can look. This next one I'm going to do is I'm going to mimic what's happening in the rim and also the interior section by just putting a line that's very similar to those curved lines. So those are just 2 of the many choices I could do. For slip trailing, I found it's best for me to keep things pretty simple. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to do this round bouncing line. When I'm going to lay on the slip itself, I'm going to start up from the rim. I'm going to squeeze the bag and I'm going to slowly move down towards the center. I would like to have wide, flat lines. Now I'm going to go in and I'm going to do almost like a rainbow type shape that mimics what's happening in the rim and also that interior section. Now as I'm doing this, I am squeezing the bag. So I'm squeezing as I go, and that allows me to control the flow. If I really don't like what I just did, I can actually go back and just wipe it off with a rib. It's a very easy way to have 2 shots at making each line. I'm now going to let this set up. It's going to take about 20 or 30 minutes. The slip will dry and it will harden up, and then I'm going to go in and I'm going to tighten up these lines with an X-Acto knife. For a 5-lobe plate, there are 2 sections that have slip trailing, and then there's 2 other sections, one made of 1 panel and one made of 2 panels that need to have some decoration. For this, I'm going to use a honeysuckle pattern, which is a long vine-like pattern. And what's nice about that is I can really get the eye of the viewer to follow any line that I make. So I'm going to start with this 2-panel section here, and I'm going to draw a straight line with white underglaze. And I'm going to jump over this middle section. I'm not going to have any decoration in the middle. That's where the food is going to sit on the plate, and ultimately the food is going to be the decoration that finishes this form. And I'm going to put a really small line right out here. Now I'm going to go in and I'm going to put some of the honeysuckle blooms. And then I'm going to switch colors to yellow. And I'm really going to define this as the focal point of the whole plate just by changing the color. This is a very intense yellow. So immediately when you look at this form, it's going to jump out. So I'm going to have a completely monochromatic plate except for that yellow bloom. Now I'm going to go in and I'm going to add a few leaves, trying to emphasize the gestural nature of a honeysuckle leaf. The underglaze has hardened, and so now I can go in and carve a Sgraffito line around these blooms. So I'm using a little triangular trim tool because it makes a wider line. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to carve right around the bloom I'm not too concerned that I carve exactly where it was painted, because for me it's more interesting to have little bits of overlap. What I am interested in is having a very fluid gestural line. The parts of this that will have the greatest line quality in terms of thickness are this bloom and then these larger leaves over here. And by having a thicker line, it makes it look like it's closer to you, so you have some sense of depth.